Hey Ben, have you seen the comments recently?
Yeah, it was getting pretty spicy in the comment section in our last video. I almost had to go ban a few people. But you guys were asking for that Assassin's Creed video,
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
we love our fans here.
Yeah, so here we
We're gonna
go.
give it
We
to you guys.
present Assassin's Creed Mobile.
No, no, no. Shut that down. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Okay, Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. All right, guys. Well, welcome back. My name's Fernie, and I'm here with Ben from Scheme Team. And today we're talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. If you don't know much about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it's the new game coming out for the Assassin's Creed franchise. It takes place in the 9th century, year 873 AD. It's the Viking revolution, or the Viking attack on Europe. So it's gonna be really cool. We got Ben here. We're big time Assassin's Creed fans, me and Ben. But the reason why I think it's gonna be a little more interesting is because I stopped playing Assassin's Creed after they introduced Origins, because I didn't like the new gameplay. I didn't like the new how it worked. So, but Ben recently took a playing of Origins and Odyssey, and he enjoyed it. He found a new liking that I didn't find, but he's here to be the defender of the new gameplay for Valhalla, or we're just gonna talk about it. And I'm a little stingy, I'm a little salty if I'm being honest, so we're gonna talk about that too. All right, you ready? You here, Ben? You want to say hi?
Yeah, yeah.
What's up, man? How you feel about Valhalla so
Yeah,
far?
so well, my first reaction to the trailer was like, "Oh man, this is awesome. Like to play as the Vikings, like Vikings are awesome, right? Like they're these like crazy warrior guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Which I think like in Origins you played as the Magi. Like those guys aren't cool, right?
yeah,
Toby's
yeah.
like, I want to be like a Magi, right, dog?
I
Like
wasn't
you're
really into that, to
like
be honest.
so like I think they're definitely hitting off on something that a lot of people like would want to play as a Viking, right? Like these guys took what they want, they did what they want, they were
They
crazy
raided,
like fighters, like
they
berserkers.
pillaged.
And the time period is super interesting, right?
Yeah, I liked the
Like
time period
the
as well.
Viking invasion of England, right?
I always thought they
And
were really
like
cool, especially with the mythology of the Vikings. That's always really dope as well.
yeah, I'm curious how they'll work in that kind of Norse mythology into the actual game. Like it'd be cool if you could like maybe have like some of the weapons or something like Thor's hammer or
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
something
Mjolnir
like
just
that.
chilling. Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
pretty sick,
I don't
right?
know. I don't know if you noticed, which really hones into the whole Viking time era. They replaced Eagle Vision with Odin's Sight. Like that's what it's called now. So one
The
thing.
Raven is like a big thing in the Norse mythology, like
So we know the timeline. Timeline is as we said, in the 9th century, 873 AD. It's about the Vikings. What have we gathered of the story so far?
so like generally with the Viking invasion of England, it's gonna be somewhere along the lines of I think these Vikings they're trying to settle in this new land and like build a community where they can farm. But like as opposed to like traditional communities where they live peacefully, the Vikings like they want to raid, right? It's part of their culture, like to go win glory and gold
Yeah, of course.
stuff raiding. So there's gonna have that conflict where they're settling in this new land, but they're also trying to win glory for their family and
Yeah,
like themselves.
well, watching that 30-minute gameplay trailer that they released, I was getting a lot of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood vibes with how they had to recruit people, for I mean in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood it's for their brotherhood, but in this case it's for your army. So you have to go around recruiting people, doing favors. Like I got a Assassin's Creed Brotherhood vibe from it, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I think we're finally getting to the point where we're getting back to that Templar, like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, like conflict. Like, the last two games, it's been more of like precursor people who like represent the ideals of the assassins, but maybe they're not a brotherhood. They're like one person trying to take down
Yeah,
like a powerful group of people.
because that's one thing I didn't really like about Origins and Odyssey. I know that there was there's slight inner tones inside of it of Assassin's Creed lore, and but I felt me personally that it branched away from the Assassin's Creed story. But you said Odyssey has more, right, compared to
Yeah, yeah,
Origins.
you definitely they definitely flesh out that conflict more, but like I come at it more from an angle like Assassin's Creed is like history to me. Like
Hmm.
it's getting to experience a time period. So like I felt like it stayed to the core roots of the franchise, right? Like
Yeah,
that's why you haven't seen a modern day Assassin's Creed because that's really not what the game is. it's going to experience these time periods that had like an immense influence on today, like
So
the Viking invasion of England, right?
yeah. So you're
Like,
mentioning like it being historical. Do you think? You think like who do you think could be like Assassin's Creed notoriously like Assassin's Creed games notoriously have like famous historical like people, or like Black Flag had Blackbeard, and like Assassin's Creed 3 had like George Washington, you know, and then Assassin's Creed 2 had like Leonardo da Vinci. Do you think like this game could incorporate any like people? Because I know we mentioned like possibly like Thor's hammer and stuff, but I doubt they would introduce like Thor and Odin. Like who's famous? Like I don't know much about Viking history. Like, do you know anyone in Viking lore that could
yeah,
like?
yeah, definitely. So like a big leader, like in the Vikings invasion of England was King Ragnar or Earl Ragnar. Eventually, like in his life, he becomes a king, but he starts out as like Earl. He's the first one to really raid and find England, and that leads to them like more Vikings going there. He's like the first one, so I think we could definitely see him. You might see King Alfred of Wessex. He's like a big leader in forming England, and it was around this time when he started to like consolidate his kingdom. There might also be King Aela, who famously killed King Ragnar with the pit of snakes, which is like a pretty crazy history thing. Like he like dropped Ragnar in a pit of like snakes, which is crazy because like they don't have snakes in England, right? Like he had to like get those from somewhere.
You had to get a snake guy.
And then there's a pretty famous is Ragnar's son, Ivar the Boneless. He's like he's known for being a great like battle tactician, and he's called Ivar the Boneless because his feet, like his legs, were like the bones in them were all like messed up, so he couldn't walk.
Oh man!
But he used to ride around on like a chariot during the battles.
Number one theory, Ragnar and his homies. Number one.
Yeah,
theory
yeah,
for
Ragnar really like that's where it's at, kind of.
Wait, do we know like so? I saw the trailer. Who's the guy in like the purple suit? Like the main antagonist, I'm assuming.
That's got to be somebody from England. The Vikings, they don't really dress that way. And
Yeah,
they kind of look a little bit
he was wearing
like
purple, wasn't he?
and,
Which is like
tough, you know.
he was wearing purple, which is like more royal. So
Yeah, it could be Alfred, honestly. You know, like that.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
might really be who that is, because he kind of resembles him, like vaguely, based on what I know of the historical description. I'm not a historian, so like, and obviously, like, it's not like we have people around from then to ask what he looked like exactly. But
oh, I mean, yeah, dude, I can just call him up. I got my homie. Let me see. I'm gonna Google it real quick. Check this out. It is. Ubisoft has confirmed he is King Alfred of Wessex. King Alex of Wessex.
so like this will sound familiar to a lot of people who watch The Last Kingdom, which is like a show on Netflix that takes place where the main character helps Alfred become like kind of consolidate his rule over Wessex and kind of vanquish the Vikings to just one part of England. And so like fans of that show will be familiar with him, as well as fans of Vikings, which he also appears in. More of a minor role in that one. But if I had to guess, like a lot of this will have to do with the conflict between Wessex, East Anglia, Mercia, Wales, and then the Kingdom of Northumbria. Those are all like English kingdoms that were around then. Because like England was, it was all these different like kingdoms of people, right? So like it wasn't one country, like as we kind of know it now. I don't know if you saw in the trailer, like they had the land split up like into pieces. So I think it's gonna be like that.
And do you think we're gonna be like freeing up land over the course of the game? You know, like that's like the objective, like taking over land, like you know, because that's where Vikings.
Well, yeah, I think that's gonna be a part of it because like
taking over the land.
They showed in the trailer like you like raiding castles and taking out like huge sieges, which is like that's gonna be awesome to play through. By the way, like I was really like cool. It was cool to see them like battering down the gate or that shit just on fire, really like cool. Slam into that wall. Like,
that was really cool. Like, and then with like when they rode up with the freaking ship, like they just like rode up, parked real quick, and then just went up.
Yeah, so like I think it'll be really fun to do those raids and stuff.
Yeah, so now we're kind of bridging into the whole like actual gameplay, which I want to start off talking about the combat. How do you feel about the combat personally?
I don't love it. It's really repetitive with these games.
Yeah,
I feel like it's more of a fault of the game type, though.
I never really liked it. Like to be honest, I this is where I get like more of a stickler for like the Assassin's Creed games. Like I loved the classic, you know, from like one, because The combat was the same from Assassin's Creed 1 basically to Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which was the last game before Origins. Um, and
Yeah.
I was kind of about that because when Origins happened, it completely switched the combat and kind of switching the game, making it more of like an RPG than it was of like a stealth game, in my opinion. So like the combat for me, because like one note I wrote down is they say you can do combat like straight up like a Viking, or there's also a silent approach, which personally I doubt, because as a Viking I don't really see how stealth is a huge option. Um, and as well, like from the previous games, Origins and Odyssey, I feel like stealth never really was an option either, even though they've said that it's an option. So like I feel like I'm really doubting the fact that the combat might be stealth optional.
Well, yeah, I'll kind of give you my take on at least what Origins was like, having like recently played that one. So what it was like, okay, if the enemy was like your level or lower, you could like kind of finagle your way around in stealth. Like you could assassinate those people who are kind of like weaker enemies, like just the little like grunt people, right? You could kill any of them with like one shot or like one hit. So like
Mhm.
you could assassinate them. What happened though was if you had to kill like a boss enemy, you couldn't assassinate them. Um, so like you couldn't do that
That you had to fight
silently.
him.
So like the way that you had to do it stealth would be like kill everybody in the compound, you know, or like take them out, and then you could then just fight the last dude or like the boss guy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
So I'm assuming it's gonna be like that, more or less, the same in
Yeah, yeah.
Valhalla.
I don't think they're gonna be like changing it up too much. I think they have a system they like. And like I said, like with most of these games, at least, like in my opinion, like it's hard to make a combat system that is like any better than this. I think it's just
Yeah,
repetitive. Like it's the
they
style.
they definitely said they're adding new stuff. Like I know dual wielding was a thing already in Odyssey, but they're saying that they're keeping like the dual wielding. They added like a stun attack. I noticed a stomp that was they were doing repetitive, that was constantly being prompted up. Um, but one thing I did actually appreciate was I felt like in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Origins, like your weapons kind of meant nothing because there was always a better weapon that you could get because it wasn't like an RPG. You could always find another weapon and whatever. Um, in this one, they were saying that they're changing it so that there's less weapons, but there's more customizations and upgrade options, so that you're like it could be your weapon. You know, like the weapon means more to you. It gives more like incentive to play with that weapon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think they could benefit from maybe like just you pick your weapon type and kind of upgrade and it kind of levels with you, maybe more than, and like you can switch it out for like ones that look different, but like you get the same stats, you know?
Yeah,
Like something
exactly.
of that nature would be maybe more beneficial than you leveling up once and then switching out all your gear as you like pick up like something that's just one level greater.
Yeah, and then I wonder how the armor's gonna work, because I think you could play as like I think they're gonna do an Odyssey and Origin thing where you could choose between a boy or a girl, because the cover photos are like all of the boy, and then the gameplay was of the girl. So I'm assuming that's gonna be a thing. So they're probably gonna do the same thing as well with Odyssey. Which also brings me to like line
Yeah.
delivery. I don't know if you remember me talking about it when I played Odyssey. That I felt
Yeah,
like when
yeah,
you
it was
played as the
bad.
guy, the line delivery was way weird. When you're like, it felt more natural playing as the girl. When you're like, I wonder if that's gonna be the case here for Valhalla. I wonder if the acting on both ends feel more realistic. But then watching the cutscenes we've seen already, like from the gameplay, it was kind. I don't know how you got that feeling, but they kind of felt a little weird. Did you get that? Like I don't know if it was the line
Um,
delivery or like the
yeah,
side characters,
the
but it
thing with
felt
these
weird.
characters is like I'd like to see them write like more dynamic and interesting characters, like as far as like voice line options and
Yeah, 'cause
like
it seemed
kind of
really
how the
bland a little
cutscenes.
bit. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, definitely. Like it definitely seems like they're writing in a box a little bit, like as far as like voice lines go for these games, which
yeah,
like it really annoys me because like it just makes me want to skip cutscenes and still like just I'd rather just kind of like play through.
yeah, exactly. Another cool thing about since we're talking about gameplay was the longship. Like Assassin's Creed games ever since like Assassin's Creed 3 has had like boating in mechanics. And
Yeah,
in Odyssey it was more of like a bigger boat or whatever. But in this one, it's specifically a longship, which is just maybe a crew of like 12 dudes and specific like all sitting side by side. So I'm curious if like you think it's gonna be a bigger ship or do you think it's just a longship?
Well, so like that's a kind of common misconception that you're having here. Like the size of the longship is just dependent on how many people you can have to crew it, right? Like size of the ship is just like how many people do I have that can row this ship, right? I can have a bigger ship if there's more people who can row it. It's just that with the Vikings, like sailing on rivers, like because you're not going to be sailing in the ocean, like mainly. At least that's what it looks like.
It's just like
so like sailing down a river.
Yeah.
You're gonna want a lighter, like smaller craft.
And the longboats are pretty dope, if I'm being honest. Like it's cool because I don't know if you noticed, but they're saying that it's interactable with your crew. So like they brought back like the singing, like how they used to have in Black Flag, or you could actually ask your like crewmates for stories and stuff. So like if you want to like get more information about them or more like rumors about the world or whatever, it makes
definitely
like,
some banger sailing songs.
Dude, for real.
Yeah.
And then they're also introducing cinematic mode essentially for like the boats. It's kind of like a Red Dead Redemption with the horses, where like it just kind of goes an auto straight path, and then it's gonna go in like cinematic shots while you're going down the river, which I think is pretty cool. That's gonna be really cool shots to get, if we ever do a review of the game. So like going your boat pretty much autopilot, which is pretty cool. And one thing with the longships too, I kind of mentioned it a little earlier, is they said you could literally like beach it anywhere and like immediately raid off of it. Like you could literally beach it anywhere and research and re-beach and re-go into the water like no problem, which I thought was really cool. Like you can just literally park anywhere. So that means there's so many different angles you can approach a castle or whatever if you're gonna siege it, which is pretty dope. Like it's not just locked to one location.
Yeah, or like in Odyssey and like 3 and Black Flag, like you could only dock at certain like places. Designated like areas where there was a dock.
Not anymore, baby. Park where you want.
You'd have to like sail around an entire island because the dock was on like the other side, and then you'd be like.
All right, so last but not least, I want to like start to get into the world a little bit because we got a little bit of the world like experience, like from the gameplay. I'm gonna start out with it. My favorite one right off the bat is Viking rap battles. Like, that's absolutely insane.
I mean, yeah, that's crazy to think that people like Kanye West and Jay-Z, they're really just ripping off Vikings.
Yeah, of course.
Thousands of years later.
I also, we saw the Viking rap battles, which is the most thing I'm excited for the most. I'm excited, like...
To all those whom I speak, they say Eivor's a clod.
Then you're speaking to fools and their knowledge is flawed.
Well...
Dropping my water bottle.
It's definitely kind of awesome.
Yeah, the Viking rap battle is super smart to have, to be honest, which is cool. There's also stuff like fishing. I don't know if you noticed the fishing, which is not your typical fishing. It's like throwing a rope in the water. And they're saying like you have to catch fish, which is interesting because your health won't regen, which I thought that was also interesting. Like you have to use like herbs and like fishing and food and stuff to regen your health again.
Oh man, that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it is, but get that fishing, get that fishing going, dog.
Yeah.
There was also a lot of like other world events. Like there's little mini events scattered across the entire game. Like there was one that I noticed where the guy was calling it like a cat raider. Because the mission was like you help this little boy find his cat, and the cat ends up becoming your friend, and that cat was actually able to now be on your ship, like your longboat, and just chill, which I thought was awesome. So like apparently there's a lot of little mini events like that scattered around the world, so it's gonna be really cool to like actually explore and find stuff like that. Apparently there's also like meditation areas where you could do stuff like rock stacking as well. And if like it's apparently like a little mini game of see how you could stack the rock, and then if you actually like successfully like get it without toppling, apparently you could like stop it and like the rock stack will stay there like for the rest of the game. So like it's like you're implementing parts of the game. And like the last thing I want to like hone on, it seems like they're going back to a little bit more of the classic like Assassin's Creed free running. Like they're like I noticed they were going like moments where they were like skipping into trees and stuff like that. And like from ledges to ledges, which gets me kind of excited because I felt like ever since Odyssey and Origins, they've been like going away from like the classic free running. So like that kind of got me a little excited to see that they're doing a little more classic free running, which is freaking dope.
Yeah, I think that like the big struggle for them is just that these like more primitive time periods, there's less buildings, which like that was a big struggle I think in Odyssey and Origins. Not so much in Odyssey because like you had a lot of city areas that were like more able to have that like kind of more dynamic free running where you could navigate from building to building. But definitely like in Odyssey, like a lot of it was just like desert and maybe like a few shacks in a town or something.
I
Whereas
feel
like you know, we're in England, so we're gonna have like major cities like York and London to like kind of maybe you know, like free run around and stuff, and these castles that kind of dot England will be, I think, great sites for that free running.
Yeah, I feel like for this game they really took a page from Assassin's Creed 3. Because if you remember from Assassin's Creed 3, a big part of it was the tree parkour. Because you know the main assassin of that one, Connor, was a Native American. So a lot of his parkour in the beginning was through trees and the forest and stuff. So it's kind of cool seeing them bring that back. But overall,
Yeah.
you know, that's basically what everything that was covered, all the information we have now, everything we know. I'm gonna go first. We're just gonna like talk about how we feel. Like, are you excited for the game? Me personally, I'm really excited about the time period. I think that's really cool. I'm not excited about the combat. I haven't been a fan of the combat ever since Origins, because I felt like it's been really going away from like the Assassin's Creed feel. Ever since Origins, I've always thought that the Assassin's Creed games now should just realistically be a different IP or a different like branch of Assassin's Creed, because I would love to see an Assassin's Creed game in the classic like style, like again, you know, like I would love to play that, but I know they're not going to do that anymore because now they're focused on this. So that's always why like I'm always like but you know, I'll probably give it a shot. I'm excited to play. You know, the Viking rap battles, as I said, is like the coolest part, and the time period is dope. So how do you feel?
Yeah, so this is definitely like the most excited I've been about an Assassin's Creed game. I think probably since like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, if I'm being honest, because
Really?
the time period here is just like so interesting to me. It's something that I've watched like multiple shows about, and that I've even like thought about reading books about, because it's just there's so much like story there, and the characters and like roles of the people are so interesting. So that really like as like a history nerd, that really like pops out to me. And like the gameplay, like I'm not thrilled about it, but it's like kind of the price I pay, I feel like, for getting to live out that history in a video game. And I mean, I kind of would like to see them go back to the old Assassin's Creed style, but I also think that could be a little bit bland in some ways. So yeah, I'm just really excited to explore this new time period and kind of see how they work in the Assassin's Creed and kind of like Templar conflict, as well as like the ancient technology with like Stonehenge. Like I'm really excited to go see that and like just visit the areas of kind of like a very old like England, and just kind of see like what the primitive like start of the country was like.
All right. Well, that's basically how we feel, guys. You know, as I said, me and Ben are like big Assassin's Creed fans over the years. There's been a lot of them. Isn't that right, Ben?
Yeah, yep. Like
And-
9 games.
And, you know, me personally, as I said, ever since Origins, I felt like it's been slipping, but this one is getting me excited again. And we want to know how you feel down in the comments below, or if we're just like dumb bimbos. Let us know down in the comments below. Consider subscribing, guys. You know, we want to get to 45 subs by 2021, so Ben will shave his eyebrows. Let us also know what you think about these discussion type videos. If you like it, we'll probably do more. And if not, we'll definitely do more because it's not your decision. Thank you. And consider subscribing.
You don't matter.
To Ben, you matter to me. You matter. Bye.